Welcome to How It Works, a video series from Law Sites and LawNext in which you get to see hands-on demonstrations of legal tech products directly from their developers. In today's episode, we're going to get a demonstration of Threadeo, a product that provides legal professionals with expert quality summaries and analysis of depositions, medical records, and more. And joining me to tell us about it and show us how it works is Aniket Sawant, CEO and co-founder of Threadeo. Aniket, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bob. It's a pleasure to be here.
So before we actually launch into a demonstration, which we want to do very quickly, but tell us a little bit about Threadeo and what you do.
Sure. So Threadeo is a platform that provides, as you mentioned, expert quality summaries of legal proceedings. So depositions, arbitrations, trials, and documents associated with those legal proceedings. So medical records, immigration files, and some other documents as well, exhibits as the case may be. And so that's what we focus on. The emphasis is on expert quality, which means that we want those analyses to be comprehensive, insightful, and actionable, and roughly at the same level of quality that an attorney would expect from a paralegal or a junior associate.
All right, well, let's dive right into it and do some show and tell here, see how it works.
Our platform is entirely browser-based, and it's a very simple upload and download interface. And what we do is once you log into your Threadeo account, you will see the types of legal proceedings to which you have upload access. And in this case, you can see that this particular account has access to depositions, arbitrations, and trials. Within each of these, you can upload individual transcripts, ideally in text format, because that gives you the richest output and the best hyperlinking, but you can upload PDFs as well. The way it works is essentially just click on the one that you would like to upload. Let's say I want to upload a deposition transcript, one or more deposition transcripts, and let's see what that looks like. So I choose deposition and I choose depo transcript. And then I get an option to either upload individual transcripts or I can create a consolidated deposition summary out of those transcripts. And what that means typically, Bob, is that let's say I have a multi-volume deposition where deponent was scheduled for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, so volumes 1, 2, and 3. If I want a consolidated, what I can do is click on this and then add each of the individual deposition transcripts from this location, from any of these locations, and then I can essentially consolidate them. And what I'll get is not only individual summaries, but also for each of the days, each of the volumes, but also a consolidated summary across those 3 volumes. And so that's the more advanced function. For now, what we'll do is we will upload just individual summaries. So I'll go back here, click on deposition, and click on depo transcript, and then click on individual. Now what we'll see is that we highly recommend text files when available. PDFs can work, but text files just provide the best analysis and hyperlinking. There are 3 sources from which you can currently upload, and more are coming soon. If you have a Box account, you can use that, or Dropbox, or you can just upload from your computer. In this case, we will upload from our computer. And if we go here, what I will do is upload these first 3 transcripts for this particular deposition. And what you see there is that we have these 3 transcripts ready to go. These are deposition transcripts from the first civil deposition for O.J. Simpson from way back in 1996. And then I just hit upload. And now they're in process. Now, these analyses typically they're pretty involved, and they take anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes to actually run. And so we're not going to wait, obviously, the 10 to 15 minutes. I've already run these for our audience here, and I'll go grab them from over here. And we'll go look at, say, this one. So here, you'll get an email notification saying that, hey, it's ready, and then it'll show up in your browser window as well. Mm-hmm. Before we log in, you got a disclaimer, and you have to look at the disclaimer. It's 100% AI generated. There's no humans in the loop, etc. And these are suggestions. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So the individual deposition summary or analysis has these 6 sections. And in the browser, you can view the transcript on the left and the summary and analysis on the right. And so it's all hyperlinked, so you can easily go to a particular location, and we can run through these 6 sections one by one. So the first section is just the context, so the case name, the deposition date, witness name, and a brief overview. It talks about witness demeanor, it talks about interruptions from the counsel in this particular case. So one of the things you'll see, Bob, is that the content is very rich and contains a level of detail that is, say, far beyond what you might get from some of the competition. Additionally, there's obviously a concern in the legal community around AI and hallucinations and so on and so forth. And we've basically mitigated that by providing citations for assertions. For example, you can click on this and it says the counsel repeatedly instructs Mr. Simpson not to answer questions. And you can go here and you can see when you click on that at that location, that the attorney is instructing the witness not to answer questions, and you can see that. And so there are three things really in here. One is the richness of the content. The second is the accuracy of the citations. And then the third, which you'll see visible or show up or surface as we go further, is the thematic grouping. So for example, in this section, you have the key points highlighted and all the different things that are discussed within the deposition. So that's the first section. And you'll see these three themes repeat throughout the rest of the deposition. So you have the summary. So you have the background information, the witness background, their role in the case, their relationship to the other parties, and citations for each. The next section refers to the chronological summary. This is essentially a reading of the entire deposition, and the system reads through the entire deposition, identifies key events and dates, provides details in regards to what happened on those dates and with regards to those events, and provides citations for each of those. And that's what you see here.
And then just let me ask you, is in the date order, not the order it appeared in the deposition?
Correct. Yes. So the system is smart enough that it actually goes through it and then arranges it. It could very well be that in the deposition, and actually we can take this as an example. So they spoke about the week of June 6th earlier in the deposition as identified by the page numbers. And they spoke about May 16th, which is obviously an earlier date, but they spoke about it later in the deposition. But the system is smart enough to align it chronologically and then provide the citations accordingly.
I see.
So that's the chronology. Then we have the topical summary, which is the key topics that are discussed. And again, this is where you see the thematic grouping. So here are the various items that were discussed and the citations for those, and so on and so forth. Then this is where, Bob, it really steps beyond the realm of just a summary and becomes more of an analysis, and where we have major admissions. So here are the major admissions that this deponent made, along with their citations, of course. And then we have the impacts of those admissions. So this is where a paralegal or an associate would be expected to apply their judgment and say, hey, here's what this means. Here's what these admissions could mean. And here's what, as the attorney, one should be potentially looking at. Then we have contradictions and inconsistencies. So if I'm a witness and you're deposing me and I answer your question one way on page 37 and then I answer it a different way on page 222, and I do that 3 or 4 times, it's going to call out all of those sections and all of those instances and lay them out with citations. And that's exactly what you see over here for the contradictions as well as the inconsistencies. And so this is a good example, as I mentioned in the beginning, of insightfulness. So you can see that the content itself is rich, it's thematically grouped, and so it's comprehensive. The contradictions and inconsistencies make it insightful because now you're saving a whole bunch of time in terms of getting this information that would have otherwise taken you hours and hours to go through manually. The third part of this is actionability. What could I do next with this information? And that's where these impeachment points come in. That's one example. So based on what was provided, what are the various statements for impeachment that could be made? And those are listed here. What are some additional statements or documents that could be accessed? So we've looked briefly at comprehensiveness, insightfulness, and actionability through the 3 sections. Any questions before I move to the second half of the analysis?
I guess I'm curious as I'm looking at this, whether the AI has any other background on this case. For example, when it's looking at admissions, does it know something about the case in order to evaluate whether something is an admission that's relevant to the case in some way?
That's a great question. As of right now, no. The only input that we've provided it is that one particular transcript, the 3 that I uploaded. Each of those is regarded in isolation. And so it's doing its best to understand what the importance could be. Now, obviously, the final judgment in terms of what is important and what is relevant in terms of context rests with the attorney. But no, it is only using the uploaded transcript. In a future update, we're going to enable additional uploads, such as complaints and citations, also to provide additional context. And we're actually piloting that as we speak. But as of right now, the deposition transcript is the sole input for the analysis transcript.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So then we have essentially an analysis and commentary again. So this is the expectation of what you would expect from a paralegal or an associate in terms of what the analysis is, what it means, what is the impact of the testimony, And then again, going back to strategic recommendations in terms of cross-examination strategies. So maybe a higher level of the impeachment point. So what did the timeline actually look like? How would you actually address the credibility of a particular situation, etc. It also provides further investigation areas or recommends those. And these are all of those that are listed. And then finally, it recaps everything, brings it all together, and provides a list of or a set of final thoughts and recommendations for both the plaintiffs as well as the defendants. And so in each case, it provides potential next steps in discovery over here, suggestions for trial prep, even potential motions if applicable on both sides. And then finally, we have the appendices, which are just the exhibits. It's not just a simple list of exhibits, it's actually a description of the exhibit and a description of the context within which that exhibit was introduced or discussed within this particular deposition. And then we have a glossary at the end. And that's pretty much it in terms of this analysis.
Aniket, another question is, if I had back at that first step uploaded 3 days worth of deposition transcripts, what would I get? Would I get this exact same summary outline covering all 3 days, or would I get 3 different summaries, or how would that work?
That's a great question. So you get 2 different sets of outputs. The first set of outputs is the individual daily summaries. So this happens to be day 2. So you'd get day 1 and day 3 as well, and each of them look like this. But in addition to that, you'd also get a consolidated summary across those 3 days. And I can pull that up real quick. That is not available in the web interface. That is available only as a PDF download, and I can pull that up real quick. Mm-hmm. What we have on the screen here on the left is the consolidated summary across those 3 days. So if you recall, I showed you day 2, which was January 23rd. And this is across days 1, 2, and 3, which is January 22nd through 24th in this case. And the overall structure is the same. And so I'm not going to spend time on that. But what this shows is it actually takes information from across all of those 3 depositions, puts it in here. So you have a broader overview of what happened. And then you can obviously drill down into the individual daily summaries to dive a little bit deeper and to get those citations and so on and so forth. But you can see obviously here that there's additional items that were discussed, not on day 2, but on days 1 and 3. And those are all listed here. And again, you see the thematic grouping, you see the major admissions, you see the citations, and contradictions, so on and so forth. And that's pretty much it in terms of deposition summaries and analysis.
All right. I know there's a lot more to Threadeo, and we don't have a time to cover it in today's brief video, but that was really helpful to get that overview and to actually see how it works, because picture's worth 1,000 words, as they say. So appreciate that. Thanks for coming and doing that.
Yep. Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Any last words before we finish up?
We're proud of the output that we have, and we're always open to potentially new types of analyses for any legal customer who may have something, and we're open to conversations on how to make that happen.
All right. Aniket, thanks so much for being with us on How It Works today. That's it for this episode. You can find the full series at directory.lawnext.com under the Resources tab. We're also on YouTube. Just search for How It Works. This is Bob Ambrogi. Thanks for joining us today.